Hello, guys, and welcome to ATL Falcons UK live show this week. We've got Christian and Liam, maybe a few of us joining on. Um, onto another defeat. Should start with. I think we'll start with you, Christian. How did you feel about it? How did you expect it? Well, I don't think anyone expected it, but I think as soon as the last interception happened, you just knew what was coming. I think everyone knew.
It was depressing to watch it because as soon as it finished, the last kick from Badgley came on red zone. He nailed it from 43 yards. My sister came down into the front room and she went, "The Chargers won." I went, "Yeah." The first thing she said, "Yikes." That's how bad it was. And that's how bad. If someone who doesn't even watch it knows how bad the Chargers are and just says, "Yikes," that says it all. It was just bad from start to finish. The defense played pretty well. But Matt Ryan, that was completely uncharacteristic. We know he's a very good quarterback. We know he's probably the best player the Falcons have ever had. I don't think that's up for debate, but he was really awful. And it's just going to, I don't know, get the casuals more active again. Let's say, get rid of Matt Ryan. It's just irritating. I had a rant at one yesterday who wants Ryan to be replaced by either Sam Bradford, Colin Kaepernick, Cam Newton, Trey Lance. Hell, we might as well get Tim Tebow involved. That's how ridiculous it has got.
Just anybody.
Absolutely crazy. I've seen a lot of I put that tweet out. We put one about that was part of the defeat. It was his fault without a doubt, but some of the criticism that he got from it was absolutely embarrassing. Obviously we're UK fans, and I think the UK fans, they always seem slightly they love Matt Ryan even more than some Americans, apart from Greg who usually comes on. But some of the people what were saying was everyone has bad games, but it is what it is. It's but going back to the game, we didn't score any points in the last two quarters. That's appalling.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, Matt didn't have a good game, and we know by his standards. He was very open about that after the game. He was actually, I think in the post-game interview, he went sort of through each interception with him. Like it's like punishment, isn't it? Going through each. And what about this mistake that you made? And he sort of, he owned up to all of them. He did actually say that the only one he sort of wasn't massively disappointed about was the actual one where he threw to Calvin in double coverage, because he basically said he genuinely believed that Calvin was capable of going and getting that ball. I think that was it.
My hearing though.
You go up and get it. He's probably obviously very much used to having Julio in that situation, and yes, if Matt throws to Julio in double coverage in the end zone, I wouldn't even bat an eyelid. I'd be like, yeah, there could be 6 on him, just throw it anywhere. But yes, he threw it to Calvin and it didn't work out. But the other two, he was very disappointed with himself in. And don't get me wrong, fans were right to criticize that performance, but you don't just lump someone's sort of entire career on that one performance. Yes, Matt Ryan might not be the greatest quarterback that's ever lived, but what he's always brought to us is consistency. Yeah. And there's so many NFL teams out there now and in the past that would just kill for consistency. You don't even need a well beater, you just need someone who's half decent to get you over the line. And Matt's been more than that for us. But, there's teams out there that haven't had a quarterback that, knows their ass from their elbow for about 5 years, because you just cannot find one. You can't just go out and go, he looks good in college, so let's go and get him. Or it just doesn't work like that. You could get one, but the likelihood is you probably won't, and you could get a complete bust who's complete waste of a first round pick, and you try again next year or the year after. And we don't want to be that team. Yes, obviously at some point we are going to have to go out and get somebody, but we want to evaluate and go for the right player at the right time. If we've got other needs, we fill those needs first. While we've still got Matt on the contract, so obviously in the large contract, he's still got plenty left in him. Yes, you might say he's regressing, but he's still plenty good enough. He's still up there in the quality of quarterbacks that are in this league. So I don't understand why everyone is so quick to jump the gun on him and say, "Look, we need to move on." And just talking about drafting players in this draft in the 4th and 5th pick, if we ended up with that, and going out and getting any quarterback who's there just because they want rid of Ryan, even though Ryan's under a contract for how many more years and cost us a fortune. They're not thinking it fair. It's like a personal vendetta against him.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's one of them where, like, you draft a quarterback straight away, like you said. What they've been playing in college, even though you can get the odd few that can walk into a team and start firing straight away. But let's be honest, not everyone can.
Hell, Mahomes couldn't even do that. He was sat behind Alex Smith, and he said himself that Alex Smith was pivotal in terms of his development as a quarterback. He owes a lot of his early success to Alex Smith. He said it. You're not going to get, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get a quarterback who's going to come in immediately and start every game like what Liam said. Luke in the 2011 draft, like Jake Ponder, Christian Ponder, and Jake Locker. They came in and they were out of the league within a few years. And they were quite high picks, I believe. Something like the 10th overall and 13th overall. I don't know the exact picks, but they were in that ballpark.
That can happen. It can happen wherever.
We have been.
I know so many people, and then I might have even been one of them at one point, who were all in on players like Mitch Trubisky coming out of college, and there was did he go 2nd overall? I think he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
They were absolutely loving him. Like, he's the guy. This guy cannot fail. Now what we are. And that's the 2nd overall pick.
They traded a war chest of picks, and I think it's probably going to cost Ryan Pace his job. It's probably going to cost him his job.
I'm just fed up with the sort of the attitude that which we just go out and pick a guy and he's the guy. He's going to be he's the best. He's automatically better than Matt Ryan. Never even thrown a ball in the NFL, but he's better than Matt Ryan. That's what it seems to be like. He's like, doesn't matter who we pick. Let's trade up for Lawrence. Why not?
Here's the thing. Any quarterback who's coming out of college, if you ask them, would you take Matt Ryan's success over your career? Most of them would say, we would absolutely take that.
Oh, 100%.
The only thing Matt Ryan is missing is a Super Bowl. And it weren't New England versus Matt Ryan. It's not New Orleans, Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Matt Ryan in the division. It's the Falcons. And the Falcons have not put enough talent around him to win, especially on defense. The offensive line has been awful. It was like that mock draft yesterday. Jamar Chase going to us 7th overall. The Falcoholic tweeted, "Oh, great! Let's get all these world-class wideouts. Let's get all these world-class cornerbacks. But let's get Matt Ryan destroyed by undrafted free agents on the all-line." That's exactly true.
This is the same people that are going crazy saying, "Yeah, we should draft Jamar Chase." The same people who don't like Matt Ryan. So it's like, why would you want Jamar Chase, but you don't want like Matt Ryan, who's the guy throwing to him? If Matt Ryan's as bad as you say he is, Chase ain't getting any balls, is he?
Hell, someone wanted Sam Bradford. That's how much they hate Matt. The disrespect he gets is crazy. Honestly, I don't get it. He's not the greatest of all time. He's not Tom Brady. But damn, he's the best quarterback we've ever had. And he stabilised us after that Michael Vick saga. I don't know why I keep moving my arm over here, but apologies for that.
Passionate. I think passionate, that's the word. I think Greg wants to...
I walked into the right fight, I think. My God. No, people are thinking that what people are forgetting is that rookie Matt Ryan changed everything for us. That doesn't happen that often. We came off of the Joey Harrington season, the Chris Redmond, Byron Leftwich season, where we had like 9 different quarterbacks start, and it was really awful. And then Matt Ryan comes in, we go 11-5, we go to the playoffs, and everyone thinks that a rookie quarterback will automatically lead us to that level of success. No, Matt Ryan was rookie of the year for a reason. The guy's a stud. The argument that, we should drop him, we should drop everybody because we've had a few 7-9 seasons. I hate to tell you, you know who was really famous for 7-9 seasons about 3 seasons ago? The Saints. And everybody said they should drop Sean Payton and drop Drew Brees. Well, they've been on the top of the division for the past 3 years. Now, the fact that they choke like crazy in the playoffs is just something hilarious to me. But that has nothing to do with what's going on right now. No, you ride your guy as long as you can. Yes, Matt's 36, but he's not I don't think that the interceptions that he threw on Sunday, they're on him. That last ball was on him. The game sealer, that was a bad pass. But you can't blame his holding the ball too long this year on him. You can't blame it on his lack of mobility. Dude's running better than he ever has. I mean, flat out. So, I mean, I'm sorry. No, Trevor Lawrence is not going to take this team to a new level. He's just not. Justin Fields is not going to take this team to a new level. You know what would, though? A coach. Just tossing that one out there.
And a good coordinator.
Yeah, the whole coaching staff, they've been ass ever since we got Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn was carried to the Super Bowl by Kyle Shanahan. Outside of that, I mean, that 10-6 year they had following was not that good. I mean, we got absolutely routed by the Patriots at New England that year. It was like 28-7 or some crap like that.
And we barely scraped wins against the Bears and Lions, so we could have easily been 7-9 then.
Yeah, I feel like for the past 10 years, the Falcons are one play per game away from either being 13-3 or 3-13 every single year. And it all comes down to that boneheaded – I'm never going to forgive Dan Quinn, never going to forgive any of them for that onside kick on Dallas. I know it wouldn't have changed our season, but what the hell? We all knew to jump on that ball.
Yeah, you're definitely right. The coaching is certainly the offensive coordinators where we're at. I mean, a top-level offensive coordinator can virtually get anybody open. Doesn't matter. They don't have to be a superstar. They can be bang-average receivers. He'll get them open. They can scheme open average running backs. We've got way above average of both of those.
Kyle Shanahan took two of our backup offensive linemen, made them starters, and went to the Super Bowl in San Francisco. I'm just saying, and I don't like Shanahan. I'm not up his ass by any means, but with a solid scheme, you can get around it. We've proven this year that cranking first-round picks into your offense doesn't mean shit.
Well, Wes Schweitzer's been really good for Washington.
Of course he has.
Hassenauer has played really well for Pittsburgh.
I mean, Duke Riley yesterday picked off Sunday picked off Taysom Hill. I mean, Duke Riley was legitimately running the wrong direction when he played for us. 78% of the time. You can't blame anything. And Matt Ryan, I think we at this point should have our respect just our respect at this point to assume that it's not him. He's earned that for the past 13 years.
I think it's with Matt Ryan. I think it's because we've had it so good for so long, and then we see the cap hit that he's got for the next couple of years, how our cap space is a bit wrecked by it. And everyone goes, we need to get rid of him. We need to get rid of him. We need to bring in someone younger, faster, more mobile. Can we have Lamar 2.0?
That doesn't guarantee anything, though.
I don't want Lamar now.
You pay for top-tier quarterbacks. If a quarterback's been successful, like Matt Ryan has,
you pay him.
Simple as
that. Agreed.
Is behind Jimmy G, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, and a few others.
Also, if we went that deep on Jimmy G, that would kill me. That dude has done nothing.
He's better than all three of those quarterbacks I've just listed easily. And he's about 7th highest paid now.
So many idiotic remarks around, obviously, trade him. But
this isn't Madden. You can't just trade someone you don't like.
I've seen, we need to trade up for Lawrence, so we need to trade up for Fields. So they're saying to me, or they're saying this in public, that you want Trevor Lawrence, who is going to be the number one pick this year. Yes, he looks very good. Yes, he looks like he's going to be able to step into NFL and perform to some level. Whether he will, we don't know. But yes, he looks very good. The Jets are very, very likely going to take him. Then we're saying trade Matt Ryan to the Jets to get the Lawrence pick. So the quarterback that you're saying is rubbish with a huge cap here that you don't want is the player that we're going to offer as value for the young up-and-coming quarterback out of college. So how does that work? It makes zero sense. If you're as bad as you're saying he is, we ain't going to get a 5th-round pick for him, never mind the first overall. You can't have both.
Just for Matt's well-being, if you put him in a Jets jersey, he dies. He physically dies.
It's accurate, very accurate.
I've just got another thing to say with the quarterbacks. With Fields, who was the last good Ohio State quarterback to come out?
Dwayne Haskins.
Dwayne Haskins, who's done a bag of nothing.
Exactly. They don't really produce good quarterbacks if we're being honest.
Oh no, you've got to go and get the quarterback whisperer, somebody out of Oklahoma or something if you want to.
Oh, we could bring in Adam Gase.
To be fair, Bruce Arians was supposed to be this offensive mastermind that takes Tom Brady to a new level. They've been very average this year.
They've been wildly inconsistent.
Yeah, sometimes they put up 40 and sometimes they get beat by the worst teams. It's all the perfect formula, man. This isn't college. In college, you just get the best players. If you're Alabama, if you're Oklahoma, if you're Ohio State, you just get the best players and you start running over everybody. Everyone's good in the NFL. It's the coaching, it's the scheme, and it's the chemistry that makes the difference. And we've even seen this year that Bill Belichick is human. I mean, they have looked god awful. So
he's obviously he's doing. We know how good he's been. He's doing the best with what he's got, but he doesn't just.
The jump between Cam and Tom is too different.
Everybody said that.
Different tiers.
Cam Newton was going to join, and it'd just be fantastic because he's got Bill Belichick. But it's not as simple as that. He's obviously had a relationship with Tom Brady for a long time. He's a completely different quarterback, to say the least. The personalities, nothing alike. So it was never going to be a case of, this Cam's going to be amazing. Everybody watch this. And obviously he started well and he was running the ball okay. But they've fallen flat on the face now. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Bill Belichick's doing badly with what he's doing because they're not very good players.
No, it just takes the right chemistry, man. It takes the right setup all the way around. Did you get hurt? There's a lot that goes into it. Matt Ryan, I'm surprised has not missed that many games. I mean, he gets killed constantly.
3 games in his entire career, I think.
Yeah.
3 games.
And then 2 of them came in his second year.
That's insane when you think about it.
He just spends the practice weeks just in the training room, just getting fixed up, just not practicing.
I have no doubt about that.
There is one thing I want to say though. If you look at the quarterbacks that was drafted in the era Matt Ryan was 2008 to 12, here's the list of some of them anyway. Joe Flacco, Matt Stafford, Mark Sanchez, Sam Bradford, Tim Tebow, Cam Newton, Jake Locker, Christian Ponder, Blaine Gabbert, Russ Wilson, RG3, Tannehill, Brandon Weeden, and Andrew Luck. Aside from Russ Wilson, I would personally say Ryan is better than all of them.
I would say 3 quarterbacks on that list are comparable, or if not better. You got to give it to Russ. I mean, Russell Wilson's got the numbers. Andrew Luck, talent-wise, was way up there. He just had a bad run of injuries. But you're right. I mean, all of those guys were supposed to be franchise changers. Every single one of them.
And only 3 out of that list.
I think Flacco deserves a bit more sort of respect because, yes, granted he had a very good defense, but he still was solid for a number of years. And in his prime, you could say he was on a par or just slightly below where Ryan is or was.
I would say Flacco did very well, but was never very good.
No, that's perfect way to put it. He was good enough for them to win a Super Bowl. That's the best way to describe it.
He did very well with what he had.
He got a ring. He threw them into a ring. I mean, that's more than we can say. Even though I still argue that Matt Ryan did everything, he didn't do anything wrong in that game. But
Eli Manning did. Obviously, he did it as well. Nobody's saying Eli Manning was one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever live.
God no, but he beat Tom Brady twice, and that means something.
Hell, Matt's now getting blamed for that special teams error in that Dallas game somehow. And he wasn't even on the field.
I mean, if you think about this year as a whole, how many games have been lost on something stupid? Like Todd Gurley sprinting into the end zone and then falling down, or, an onside kick that we didn't dive on, or blowing a 21-point lead because, whatever. I'm thinking even down to Taysom Hill throwing a 40-yard pass that went 700 feet in the air massively underthrown, but they shoved Debo 28 yards downfield, and it looks like he completed this match. It's all these ridiculous plays. It's like the butt fumble or the butt pick or anything else. It's just stupid shit that keeps happening to this team.
We should be 8-5 if you look at it logically, because we shouldn't have lost the Dallas game. We shouldn't have lost the Detroit game because Matt led us on a touchdown drive, and by the time Gurley scored, there was 1 minute left roughly.
And there's no reason that Nick Foles and Jimmy Graham should have beat us in the Chicago game.
No.
At all. But it's the defense that's the problem. Most good teams have like their number ones and their sort of the rotational number twos are on a par with the first team defense. We don't have that, if we're being honest. Because to be honest, we've got Dante Fowler as our number one defensive end. He does nothing. We replace him. Is there someone who is comparable? And same with the cornerbacks.
I mean, it's not that like Jacob Mariner or
Stephen
Means. It's not like they're that good. It's just that they've done something versus doing nothing. I mean, and it's pathetic on that front because we've dumped so much money. That's why I'm terrified of going defensive end in the first round of this draft. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like we've taken Tack and we've taken Vic in the past, and neither one of them did anything. Yes, Vic had his one season, blah blah blah. If you read that like Pro Football Focus though, he was getting sacks at an astronomical rate of the amount of pressures he was getting. It wasn't sustainable.
The best way I describe someone like Stephen Means or Jacob Tuatoi-Mariner is a bit like, I don't know, as a soccer reference, a James Milner type player. You plug them in, but they're never going to be a superstar or even a star for that matter. But they'll show tremendous work rate. They'll do all they can. But
that's like Adrian Claiborne. Adrian Claiborne was exactly that for us. He showed up, he did work, he went home. I mean, I would rather have 4 of him than ever have taken Vic Beasley in the draft. But yeah, it's just me.
But I think with the defensive ends, you get excited with their flash plays, and then what happens when they're doing shit, when they've got 2 men, when they're being double teamed, when they're being triple teamed? How do they deal with adversity? And I don't think Beasley or Tack really had to do much of that in college.
No, Vic looked great all throughout, but he also played for the NFL machine. Mm-hmm. That is Clemson. I mean, they crank out pro after pro after pro. Also, did anyone see Vic just get thrown when he in this past game
by a wide receiver?
By a wide receiver, yeah.
Decimated.
That was great.
The only reason I'm not that afraid of going defensive end this upcoming draft, and I talked about it a little bit, I think it was Monday when I did kind of a show focused on the Falcons, was because, well, I guess one, you're not really it's not like we're going out on the free market agency and giving somebody a bunch of money like we did with Dante Fowler. Of course, we're drafting picks, so it's like they have a cap amount that we're supposed to be giving them. And there was 2 guys that specifically like that I've seen a lot of mock drafts that we're supposed to be targeting and supposed to be getting. And it seemed like pretty good players, but one I kind of want more than the other. One's an opt-out player this year. Played with Miami, Gregory Rousseau, something like that. But he's ACC Defensive Player of the Year and all that. Massive guy, 6'7", like 267, something like that. Ridiculously big. They say he's a raw talent, but once NFL coaches get their hands on him, he should be a star. So I mean, yeah. One, I was like, we have to go defense in for me, for my sake, or for the team's sake. I think they have to go defense in. They need to continue to build on that front 4, on that front line. It's pretty much one in the trenches. Like last year last 2 years we focused on offensive line, and then now I feel like it's kind of time for them to focus on that defensive line, and then they can kind of build out from there. Like I say, we got some young guys in the secondary that I think have gotten better as the years has gone on. Yeah. Actually, AJ Terrell and a few other guys that we got last year. So I think with the new regime as well, I think it also depends on who we're bringing in and like how well they scout and how well they're able to pick out talent. Because obviously we see that Dimitrov, he was okay at picking some guys at certain points, but it's like certain positions he's not. It's just not. He didn't have that eye for it, or his scouting team just didn't have the eye for it.
He's good at offensive skill positions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I mean. Like, no one can fault him for grabbing Calvin. No one can fault him for going after Julio, Matt. I mean,
Yeah.
But how many defensive busts did he grab?
Yeah, that was it's been a lot more defensive busts than it has been like diamonds in. Like we got what you call it, Debo and Grady and Keanu.
Ooh.
I think Keanu wasn't even more so of him. I think that was more so.
That was DQ.
Yeah, that was all.
Dan wanted him from the second he came out.
So it's like.
Dimitrov's late round
about
defensive picks were better than his early round defensive picks, because if you look at Grady, 5th round.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's all late round.
And then we've got I said his name a couple weeks ago, but who was the cornerback that took over for Trufant in the Super Bowl run? The guy from LSU.
That was the worst. Jalen Collins. Yeah,
like terrible. Holy hell.
That was like early 2nd round.
Yeah, it was the Isaiah Oliver slot.
Exactly.
And and honestly, I screamed when they took Terrell this year. I was like, son of a bitch, we're going 5 deep. We could have gotten him in the 2nd round. Mm-hmm. Every time I say that, it turns out okay. Because I screamed at like Keanu too. I'm like, he would have been waiting.
Yeah.
And, but every time I've been stoked. I was actually really happy with the tack pick, honestly, at the time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind if we got.
What I'm worried about with players.
I think me and you were definitely
Gregory.
About corners.
Gregory Rousseau, for example.
13.
Did you guys, speaking of new regime, by the way, I don't know if you guys have talked about it before I jumped on, but Louis Riddick has 2 interviews this week.
Lions and Texans.
Not with us.
Wow.
I think if we don't get Riddick, someone's thrown a ridiculous amount of cash at him and said, "This is yours. We are not. You've got the Matt Rule contract of 5-6 years. You build it up, get rid of all the dead wood, and then try and build a contender."
Do you think if a GM comes in that, like, if you come to us and you've got literally no cap space and you're working with less, that's sort of less pressure straight away, because you can't expect us then, as all fans like us, to, all right, we know, everyone knows that the cap space is absolutely, well, there's nothing there basically. But if you go into the Jets, the Texans, I think they have a lot better than ours. So there's obviously more pressure going into that compared to going into ours for at least the first year or 2 until Matt and Julio leaves.
We've got the pieces, though.
For me, I'm not worried about that.
We have the pieces,
I'm not worried about the cap space. The team's there. For me, a lot of the team's already there. I'm worried about the coach.
Yeah.
Like you said, with, for example, your players that you could get out of the draft this year, we could go and take your Gregory Russells, who's, yes, he's got all the physical attributes that you'd ever want. He's 6'7", he's incredibly athletic, he's long, he can go outside, inside, whatever you want. But he's raw. He's a raw talent with little technique. And it doesn't matter how good he is physically, if we haven't got the right personnel to coach him into what he could be, he's just going to end up another bust. And that might not even be on him. It's just, you can draft the most raw talent in the world. If you just can't coach it into him, we've got some problems. And I don't know if, for me, I don't think we're getting the best out of even the players that we've got now. Like I said, some of the younger guys, certainly the corners in the secondary, Sheffield is a prime example of this. I thought he had quite a lot of physical attributes going for him in terms of, I think he was around the field well. I think he has something, but we're just not seeing it. Is it him? Is he just not very good, or are we just not utilising him correctly? Is he not getting the coaching that he needs? Oliver's similar, or have we just picked bad players? I don't think we have. I don't think all of these players that we're saying, certainly this season, that we're saying they're bad. I don't think they are.
No.
I think they're just playing badly under this regime.
I'm fascinated to see what's going to happen with the markets of certain positions with the upcoming year or two where the cap space will be down. I think this is going to more team-friendly help, because you're not going to be able to make the superstar signing of blank player this year when you just don't have enough money to pay the rest of your players. It might actually may reset certain markets down a little bit. Dante Fowler would not have gotten the contract that he got this year if we were going into next year. Plain and simple.
I wouldn't have given Dante Fowler a quarter of what we gave him, because he was literally, he had the best defensive player next to him. who takes up 2-3 players, and then he's there on his own, ready on his own, getting the sacks.
Mhm.
And so, just going back to the Russo, talking about Russo, I think I put it in the group chat. Like, the comparison is on CBS is like the floor is Michael Johnson from the Bengals, the middle is Pierre Paul, and the ceiling's Danielle Hunter from Minnesota. So it's not exactly. I know Hunter's decent, but it's not exactly like elite JJ Watt like player.
Yeah.
No, he's maybe not, but he's this guy's he's big. He's very obviously he's big. He's incredibly fast. He looks like you could get something out of this guy. Like, and you know, there's going to be other players in draft you could say similar about, but nothing's a guarantee. I mean, he could end up anywhere on that scale. He could end up above that scale. You just don't know what you're going to get, really, do you? But the fact is, we need somebody who can rush. End of story. We need to generate some pressure from somewhere. Where obviously we're hindering our secondary. Our secondary are looking worse than they are because the fact is that they cannot cover guys for that long, and they're having to do incredible work. Well, Terrell has obviously played very well this season, but I think he could have played even better. In some of the cases where he's lost his man, it's not because he's lost his man, it's because he's been having to cover him for so long. And the fact is that there's not many wide receivers in the NFL that, you know, if you give them that time, they will get separation. You know, you don't even have to be the best, just a decent receiver, and you're going to get separation if you've got all that time to do so. And we are just not getting anywhere near the quarterback consistently. Obviously, yes, we've brought in some safety rushes and some linebacker rushes, but we're not doing that because that's our style. I think we're doing that because we have to, because we're just not getting anything off the edge. So we're coming up with something different. Which is fair play, you know, you've got to adapt to what you've got. But at the end of the day, if we had a premier edge rusher or two, we wouldn't be rushing them as much. We could drop more guys into coverage and say, look, you try and pass us now because we've got two guys coming after you. And obviously you've got Jarrett in the middle as well, who can, you know, you can argue he's top 2, top 3 rushing defensive tackles in the league. The guy, you know, he gets leverage like no other, obviously maybe apart from Donald, but that causes a lot of fear in teams, and our secondary would just look so much better if we were causing some panic in the quarterbacks and just would get so many more picks. But
I think I said it the other week about if you have a better defensive line, there's sort of instantly less pressure on the secondary. Like, our secondary is being battered all year because the defensive line it's not doing its job. It's not putting the pressure on. So obviously, the quarterback's got more time. The wide receivers running around rings, etc. So obviously, have more time. So I think if teams usually have a better defensive line, the secondary doesn't have to be top notch because you're already putting the pressure on. Then your secondary has.
That's what
they described 2015 Carolina.
They built from the D-line. They had a bunch of first-round picks on it last year. They had D Ford, Nick Bosa, Buckner, Armstead, even Solomon Thomas. So they built from the D-line upwards. The secondary wasn't great, but it was kind of masked by what that D-line managed to do. And that's what I think we need to do.
Yeah. And I think our secondary probably isn't. I think everyone's slagged them off a lot this year, including me. And I think not everyone's looked at it straight away as in because the D-line's not doing what it's doing, and obviously the coverage is pretty shit at times, you are sort of instantly blaming them straight away instead of looking at, well, we should be pressuring the quarterback a lot more. Yeah. And I think everyone's done it, we've done it, etc. So
it's not just about the actual pressure that you get. It's the fact that they look at our defensive line, they look at the numbers that we put up and think, just no fear. Like, your players, like you mentioned there, were like your Nick Bosa, your Joey Bosas, your top level guys, your Myles Garrett, whatever. Even when they're not actually generating pressure, the fact that they're there is already in the quarterback's head. Like, you look at these guys on the outside and think, this guy's coming for me. You might not even get there, but you're already thinking about getting the ball out quicker because you know he's there. You know he's a constant threat, and they're looking at Stephen Means were, for example, just thinking, well, I could have a quick kip here before he even gets anywhere near me because I've got all the time in the world. And they're already thinking that before they even the ball snaps. It's that reputation that you bring, and if we get a guy who's got who can build that reputation, automatically going to be a better team from one player.
What about that guy from Michigan? I can't remember his name. That edge rusher.
The
Quick pay.
The quick pay, yeah. Different style of guy, more of a power rusher, bit more bull rush technique, things like that. Obviously brings something different than Gregory Rousseau. I think he's about 6'4". Pies. He looks. He does. He looks a good player. I think he's probably going to go a little bit later than Gregory. I think he will go first. It could flip, but he might be somebody that we could get after a trade down potentially. But it's one of them. It's how do you just take the guy that you believe in when you've got the opportunity? Do you risk a trade down and try and take somebody later on? Do you even go for a pass rusher in one of the later rounds if somebody's there?
We have a lot of picks this year, though.
I noticed that. How many do we have?
About 11, roughly.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, that screams, let's get the guy in the top 10. Let's trade back up and get our second guy in the first round. To me, I don't think when I start hearing trade down, I think of teams like, frankly, the Jets, who just have so many holes to plug. Like, we really don't. We've got, we need a cornerback, just to make sure that everybody listening doesn't hear what the hell I just said. We need a cornerback. We need at least one or two guys in the D-line. Really, if you can get KZ back, safety's not bad. And I guarantee Keanu Neal's not going to go for that expensive. He's been hurt too much. You get those two guys back. You have A.J. Terrell. Linebacking core is fine. That's just for my money. I say instead of doing the weird-ass move that we did with Chris Lindstrom and then come back up for Caleb McGarry, which didn't quite make sense to me at the time, let's make a sexy pick. Let's get a guy in the top 10, then let's come back in the first round and get another one. That's my thought. But if we want to get the defense up and going right now, do it. We have the picks. We have the stock this year.
If we go on, James.
I was just going to say, I agree with you about going for the sexy pick for the defense in the first one, but I wouldn't mind someone, as I said, like Travis Etienne. Get him either.
Man, I would love that.
Late first, early second. That he would basically be the next Clyde Edwards-Hilaire. He would turn our running game.
I love rookie running backs because it seems like the game just slows down for them so much faster until they start getting beat up. Those first 1 or 2 years before they get their first injury, man, they are awesome. You don't see the Dalvin Cooks come back from a big-time injury that often.
Yeah.
But Travis Etienne would be a stellar ad.
He'd probably be one of the best running backs Matt Ryan's ever played with. And that kind of says a lot considering he's been around 13 years.
Yeah, I mean, just raw talent-wise, probably. I refuse to bag on Michael Turner in the slightest.
Yeah.
That dude changed everything for us. But, then you follow him up with Steven Jackson, then you follow, not too good. But
if we go on to lose the next, say, 3 games, and we end up, Chris? I think was it the 4th pick we can get? Probably the
possible best.
That's best. So who would you be going if you were still with the 4th pick? Would you still go with the same guy you went if we had the 8th pick, or would you then trade down? Maybe.
I'd go for a trade down because there's going to be a load of quarterback hungry teams that will fall in love with if Fields falls or
the Matt Jones that's still there.
Yeah.
Trey Lance.
I don't think Fields and Lawrence won't fall out of 1 and 2. It'll be Lawrence, Fields, and then the O-line guy from Oregon. That's going to be the three.
Our issue with let's get a good pick and force somebody to want to be desperate for a trade with us is probably not going to go too well on the basis that we're not going to get one of the top 2 picks. We know that. I'd be very, very confident in saying that Lawrence is going first, Fields is going second, and that's going to remain that way. I don't think, even if we ended up at 4, 5, whatever, I think somebody forcing their way up the board to go for somebody like Zach Wilson, Trask, even my mum, Mac Jones, I think that's too high for those guys.
Yeah.
In my view.
Yeah. More likely.
Trubisky went too high though. When people get desperate for a quarterback, quarterbacks come off the shelves. I mean,
I think if they're desperate, they're going to be desperate for a Fields or a Lawrence. Those guys that I mentioned there, I can't see a team being desperate to take one of those guys. Like, don't get me wrong, they've had very good seasons. Obviously, Trask is put up some great numbers. Yeah, there will be guys that want them, but will there? Is there? So I guess it depends whether, for me, are they after a specific guy or are they after a quarterback? Because if you're after a quarterback, this is pretty stacked, and you could hold out and get one of those guys later in the first. Somebody's going to shoot there. But if you're desperate for a particular one, then maybe we could force something. But
I know I'm not in charge, but last year I was so desperate for Javon Kinlaw, man. I wanted that dude so bad, and I know if I was in charge, I would have traded anything and everything to get up and get that dude. Yeah. So, I mean, it just depends on how you're feeling.
Yeah, I mean, obviously people will be interested in the specific guy. The thing that you've got with those quarterbacks is they're very different. Like, Lance is very different than Mac Jones, for example. They're nothing alike. And it's the type of team you want to build. Obviously, you've got some people that, teams, fans, whatever, that are just basically all in on the whole. You want the most mobile guy that's out there. You want the guy that can run. Let's forget about whether he can actually pass the ball. We just want the guy that can run. But you might go for somebody like Lance, and you might.
We had Danny Etling. He can run. He couldn't throw the ball. Yeah. And yet, where is he right now? I think he's like Seattle's practice squad quarterback. Running doesn't.
You've got guys that may be teams, for example, Patriots, that probably Belichick's probably doesn't view it that way. He probably thinks, I just want a guy that can pass. So he might be interested, like somebody like Matt Jones, who isn't very well. He's mobile enough, but he isn't completely mobile. But he could do it. He's probably got the best deep ball in college football, I would say. And I'm biased, but yeah.
Trading up can backfire badly, though. I mean, we've all talked about Trubisky. He's probably the most notable one in recent years. But look at Denver in 2016, I think it was, with Paxton Lynch. Didn't they trade a couple of future seconds or something like that just to move up like 5 spots to grab him? It was something ridiculous.
Our former GM traded up all the time.
Yeah.
Do you think when the new GM comes in, obviously trading up, trading down is one of them? If it works out, it's going to be a fucking godsend, isn't it? If it doesn't, it's a bad start. So I think it's one of them, isn't it? But
if you get the right guy, it doesn't matter if you've thrown 4 late round picks to get him. You got the guy. But the fact is, you might exactly. You got the guy. You got the guy. He's worth 4 picks this year and next year. But if you don't get the guy, your squad's automatically hindered because you're missing out on 3 other guys that you could have got with those picks, and But that's why the draft is how it is. It's a lottery at the end of the day. You don't really know what you're going to get. We know what they look like.
If we're at number 4, though, me and Liam actually discussed this about Patrick Surtain a few days ago. Liam thinks if the Chargers and Cowboys are ahead of us, one of them will definitely take him. So if we're at 4, considering we need a corner alongside AJ, I wouldn't mind taking him. Solidify that back end.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a good player, obviously. I've seen a lot of him following Bama, but for me, although yes, he would add a lot of value. Again, I think we're packing the secondary, but the pass rush still needs to be improved. Even a player of his quality, even if he turns out to be an absolute stud, he still can only cover for so long if we're not getting any pressure. So you can go either way. You can go for the pass rush. You can stack the secondary. Or ideally we want somebody maybe in both. I think obviously we need a safety. I think obviously probably one of the first 3-4 rounds, we're going to have to look at safety. I think that's apparent. I'm not. KZ's obviously, will he come back? Will he not? Is Keanu Neal still a top draw player? Is he not? There's a lot of questions to answer, but
I'd pay them both. I mean, honestly, Keanu Neal knows exactly. Keanu showed that he can still just run over anybody in this league, and like you know, they're not going to come expensive. Like I'd pay them both and take care of your secondary and your defensive line in the draft. That's me, and maybe get ETN if we can swing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to talk about the driver a little bit, but I saw something on Twitter, and I want to see if you guys agree with it. Or that I saw yesterday. They were saying, should we switch more so? I guess it depends, obviously, on the new coach, but should we switch to a 3-4 style defense to where we move maybe Marlon Davis out to a defensive end because that was like his hybrid type position. I don't know who we draft and the other as the third, or I guess it'd be Dante, Grady, and then Marlon on the edges, and then bring Keanu Neal down to that hybrid type linebacker position.
If we still have Devondre Campbell, sure, but we don't. I mean, we've got Foye, who's really shown out this year, and we have Pico. I mean, like I don't want to add another linebacker position because we just don't have them.
But what you call it, Mykal Walker, he's like the second or third highest graded rookie this year. He's been doing very well, and then. Because to me, I don't know. Like you just said, Keanu's shown like he's still a baller, he's still a player. But I still feel like his lack is coverage still to me.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah. I think we need more so of safeties that can kind of like do, but obviously like hit, like play defense and like the deep balls just be killing me sometimes with him. So I was like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, that's kind of smart. We can bring him down and like kind of use him almost like they're using Jamal Adams in Seattle a little bit to where we can kind of get him off the edge. But then like
first game this season, all I heard was Jamal Adams.
Literally every play, Jamal Adams. So I was like, I can see Keanu kind of doing stuff like that because like that's what he's kind of bred to do. He wants to hit, he wants to find the ball.
Dude, he doesn't want to do anything else. He just
wants to kill it. He wants to do what he wanted to do day in, day out. You know what he's going to say. He wants to hit people.
Exactly.
And he's not in. We're not youth. Well, obviously, yes, he is doing that a little bit, but we're not playing him to his strengths at the moment. And you see, he's not. I don't rate him that highly as a cover guy at all. I just don't think he's very good at it. But
that's the theme of the Dan Quinn era, though. He kept taking defensive tackles and bumping them out, or taking like who was God, I'm losing his name. That big ass defensive tackle from Baltimore that we signed. I'm really drawing a blank right now. But he wanted to bump him out to like linebacker and start making him cover. I'm like, dude, this guy's literally done nothing but stay on the line his entire career. Why are you trying to reinvent the wheel over and over and over? Just do something. That name's gonna kill me if I don't remember it.
The thing is about Jamal Adams, you have to think about it being more circumstance rushing the passer as much as he has been, because Seattle's pass rush isn't great, even with the addition of Carlos Dunlap a few weeks ago. So he's actually Jamal Adams is actually the best pass rusher, a safety.
Yeah.
So that's why they're been rushing him. They have, but even then, he's still pretty good in coverage in my eyes.
Yeah. You could line that guy up anywhere, and he's going to do something. But he's obviously just that type of player. And they've got the luxury of playing wherever we want. But we haven't got that luxury of playing Keanu in coverage and him performing, and then playing him as a pass rusher and him performing. He's kind of one or the other. And for me, his only real talent is in that hitting guys quick, hits hard.
Kind of safety though, in regards to being able to hit, being able to play in coverage, be a ball hawking, because he just got injured.
Yeah. I mean, we've got obviously depending on exactly where we pick, there's a good chance that obviously like somebody like Micah Parsons is on the board when we pick. That is another option. Obviously, he brings something a little bit different. He's got pass rushing ability if required. He looks like a top draw guy. He's a Penn State guy, so you can be pretty reliable. Do we go? Obviously, like you said earlier, with our linebackers are pretty solid. Like, I don't think it's a position of concern, but you still could take a guy like that and utilize him.
We'd have one of the best linebacking corps in the NFL, in my opinion, if we added Parsons. Parsons alone on Debo. That'd be a hell of a group.
All this to say, though, we're only going to do any of this if we get the right guy in. And that's the scary thing right now is that we're in this transition period, right? I'm reading too much about Rich McKay having too much to say about what's about to happen, like he's only going to bring in his buddies. It's starting to read to me like a Dan Snyder or a Jerry Jones situation. Like you're getting in too deep, you're not the GM, shut the hell up kind of thing. And I'm getting really nervous that we're like not even going to interview a guy like Louis Riddick because he's not one of Rich McKay's best friends. Yeah. You know, that's starting to scare me more than anything else.
Yeah. My biggest fear is us doing a Falcons and going for, I don't know, someone who they think is going to be safe, like a Jim Harbaugh or Marvin Lewis. I'll tell you something, if that happens, the cupboards in here are going flying because I'm not joking. Jim Harbaugh is going to be such an awful appointment. Yeah, he did all right in the NFL, but he's coming from off an awful season with Michigan.
No, he's coming off an awful career with Michigan. Yeah, he's not done anything
at all.
They've not made the playoffs.
And he earns a ton of money while doing nothing.
No. And Marvin Lewis
he's on big money, isn't he? There, big money.
Yeah.
So he's not an ideal candidate either. But Rich McKay having so much control, he'll just make a ridiculous selection.
See, I thought it was Arthur Blank trying to pass the buck initially because he put Rich in between him, Thomas, and Dan, and I was like, okay, so he's just not wanting to fire his buddy. I get it, but he's still here, and it's starting to freak me out a little bit. I'm like, man, I'll be honest with you. I do not like Jerry Jones. I can't stand that type of owner. I can't stand the one that comes down onto the sidelines, fields the reporters. Like, dude, shut up. You're the owner. You got the money. Go away. But this is starting to read like one of those situations, and that sucks because those teams, both Washington and Dallas, have sucked for so long because they cannot delegate. It has to be one guy calling the shots and want to be the superstar.
Yeah. And staying over at Jerry Jones's house for a sleepover.
That worked out.
No, this is why we have, Wank has to sort of make a big call and just say we need to get the right guy in, and just, and whatever Rich thinks of that, it doesn't matter. He needs to see it that way, that we need the right guy and we need them now. And it's the similar with the coaching situation. If I think he did come out and say that he's willing to fund whatever we need to fund to get the best guy available. But will that happen, or will we just go and get a mediocre guy and on average pay and go from there? Are we going to go and get a big name or a potential big name, whether that be at college or from one of the other teams in the NFL?
This is what I wanted to ask everyone. All right, I've had these fears about Eric Bieniemy coming from the Kansas City bubble, if you will, being another Matt Nagy and struggling as a head coach. What does everyone think of that?
I mean, it's the same thing as the Belichick coaching tree, right? I mean, outside of Nick Saban, they haven't done anything, So it's scary. It's scary to me that Bieniemy doesn't call the plays. Yeah. I mean, he's basically just riding Andy Reid right now, and I know he's doing his job. And I'm not minimizing what he does with Kansas City, but he's not the guy that's making that offense run. Mm-hmm. So it's a little scary. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, my concern isn't the fact of Andy Reid's influence, because I do think that, yes, he's calling the plays, but I think obviously Eric has worked under him for a long time now, and he will have learned a lot. Whether he's actually the one putting it out there or not, he's going to have learned a ton from Reid over his time. But my concern with that is we haven't got Patrick Mahomes. How much influence is Patrick Mahomes? Just say, look, you could sort of scheme whatever you want. This guy's going to make it. He can improvise on the spot. He's just that good that you can sort of get away with even average play calling. I'm not saying that is average play calling, because we know it was set, we know it's not. But
jeez, man, he's implementing it. Can you imagine having
we can't use Matt Ryan in the same way they use Mahomes.
Exactly.
We can't do that.
Matt Ryan's good, but he's not Mahomes. No one is.
He's not Mahomes. No.
That's not a fair comparison, though. Like literally,
nobody. Nobody is.
Yeah. But the only coaching tree to me, and it's going to sound nauseating, but the only coaching tree that I trust at this point is the Shanahan coaching tree, all coming from Mike Shanahan. Those dudes have been relatively good. You've got Deshaun McVays, you've got Kyle Duh, You've got those guys. On the same front, I don't care. Teams can win without running Shanahan's playbook. By God, I would love it if we would try it once. But
yeah, I mean, the question I've been thinking about for a while, I'll ask you guys the same question is, head coach, do we have to go out and get an offensive guy, a guy whose offenses is bread and butter, or could we get away with either at this point if we got an offensive coordinator good enough to deliver? Because we obviously we've had the defensive guys. Obviously, Dan Quinn, very defensive in terms of his previous roles, obviously in Seattle. But I was sort of under the impression that we should definitely get an offensive guy if we can. But now I'm more in the group of let's not force it to be an offensive guy, because ultimately, as long as we get a good offensive coordinator, we can still deliver. But our offense is our strength. Ultimately, that's where we're at with the receivers that we've got. That's our bread and butter. That's what we've been thriving off for the last few years. We've been outscoring teams and slinging the ball. Obviously, a head coach might be with an offensive mind might be able to utilize that better than a defensive head coach. But on the flip side, would a defensive head coach improve the defense and just let a good offensive coordinator run wild with what we've got? So I guess there's arguments for both sides.
Yeah, we had the number 6 offense in NFL history with a garbage dumpster fire of a head coach in the process. It's all because the coordinator that came in and did the work. It doesn't matter. Like, you just got to get the right team.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you just said, I don't think I'd mind whether offense or defense. I guess like some probably are more focused on wanting to get like an offensive guy and heading us just because of, Dan Quinn. We're coming from a defensive guy that supposedly is supposed to know defense, and our defense has probably been ranked in like last or close to last pretty much every year he's been in charge. So I'd be fine with either one, honestly. I think like the only thing I'm afraid of, not really afraid of, but the only thing I really don't want is, which I know is hot commodity nowadays, is going after that young guru type guy. Like, I think we've already kind of seen it in Sean McVay and like you said, Shanahan. Like, those are the two guys. But like now everybody's talking about bringing in Lincoln Riley or Joe Brady or young guys like that. I personally just don't want that. I feel like Joe Brady's moving up the ranks too much. What is Carolina's offense really done this year? I know he's been without some guys. They've been in and out of the lineup with injury and COVID, but still, I think it's kind of hard to make that transition. Like, obviously, from all the pieces you had at LSU coming into the NFL and replicating the same thing. And then with Lincoln Riley, like, the quarterback whisperer or whatever, there's been guys, of course, that, have come in and done well in the NFL. Like, honestly, out of the 3 right now, Kyler Murray's probably the one that's set to be a superstar. So I just don't think like him, like, not saying him and Matt Ryan would be able to, coexist or whatever, but I just don't think like the type of guys that he's had in his Oklahoma system is what Matt Ryan is, obviously. So it's like, that's the only thing I don't want. I just wanted to stay away from like one of the young hot commodity guys, especially like offensive heads. Anything else, I think like if they were to go that route, like they have to bring in a defensive coordinator that's more seasoned, that knows kind of like obviously what they're doing. I think just to kind of like balance out the two sides or whatever. So I just don't want to go super super young. That's the only thing I'm a little bit afraid of.
2 names were pitched to me yesterday. Brian Daboll up in Buffalo. I don't know why I keep pointing. And Arthur Smith in Tennessee.
Brian Daboll popped up to me as well. I don't know where this came from. Like, it kind of came out overnight. I mean, Buffalo's got a good offense and not an incredible amount of talent. So, I mean, something to it.
That's probably it.
Rejuvenated Ryan Tannehill as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be
a
dark horse candidate.
Did Tannehill actually need rejuvenating, or did he just need to stay healthy and get out of Miami? Like, that's
a good point.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you took Arthur Smith over Adam Gates any day of the week. Well, I certainly would. I think you'd have to be on heroin not to.
Yeah.
But
I think also
took guts to drop Mariota. I mean, I'm not saying he was setting the world on fire, but he was number 2 in his draft behind Jameis. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, when you've got your number 2 guy, that takes a lot of guts to pull him out and put in Tannehill. So, I mean, like, I respect it.
Yeah.
You were playing all right as well, Mariota, in fairness to him. but he
Well,
thought
the only game he really played well was against us.
I know, right?
No, he was unbelievable against us.
Yeah.
Well against Cleveland.
Yeah, but I just remember like Mariota was like they kept talking about how this was going to be Atlanta's bounce back game. Mariota's going to tank. He's going to keep playing bad. He looked like a fucking MVP.
He was the greatest quarterback at that point in my life.
Incredible that game.
And then Logan Ryan. Where was the crowd? We didn't hear him. They may as well be playing behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I think the Buffalo thing is probably, obviously, yes, they've got a good team, defensive especially, but I think it's maybe the improvement in Josh Allen compared to last season. Obviously,
But
he
Brian
has
Daboll
taken
improvement, surely.
he's taken a big step up in his performances.
And getting Stephon probably doesn't hurt. You know.
Yeah. You know.
Surely Daboll
to throw to.
in regards to Allen's improvement, because we all saw him coming out of Wyoming. He had an arm, but he wasn't very accurate. I think his accuracy was like in the 50s. So to make him one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the NFL is a hell of a job from Daboll in Allen.
That's what I mean. That is that alone what's sort of linking in with these roles, because he's done that with a quarterback that a lot of people were sort of he did okay sort of last season, but what people were laughing and saying, "Oh, what we've got." I saw all the memes of him overthrowing guys and throwing into the parking lot and all sorts of stuff, and then he's completely turned it around, and
he's confident, man.
Yeah,
like he is ready to go. Like I think the first time I ever talked to Cal and Danny on this platform, I told you guys watch out for Buffalo this year, and you both thought I was insane. No, I swear, man, I got a lot of faith behind Josh Allen. That dude's something else.
That's he's got an absolute cannon for a start, and then obviously,
and he can run.
He can run, and he's big, and he's like a Cam Newton when he get running, because he's not an easy guy to bring down. The only thing he was ever missing was accuracy, and if he gets that, you could say he's got that already. Obviously, you've got to show consistency first, but if he gets that, and you've got everything there, haven't you? I mean, what have you not got? Josh Allen, which is one of the strangest things I've ever said, but yeah.
I like it. I like being right once every 30 years.
Not too bad.
Saying that Lawrence is potentially a similar guy to Josh Allen in the sense that he runs downfield, and Lawrence is a lot of the criticism that he's had is that he has this sort of weird obsession with taking a hit. Like he doesn't like to slide. He likes to really get rough with it, and that might not work for him in the NFL. He might take a lot of hits, and
he'll be taking a lot of hits next year anyway, won't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, look at looking quarterback and go, "Oh my god, this guy loves getting hit." Because he does it. He loves Clemson. He loves getting hit. He's right in there. But
let Aaron Donald get him. Let Aaron Donald take his helmet off one time. Let's see if he still likes being hit.
Well, look at Russ Wilson with all the hits he's absorbed over the years, so I think it might work for Trevor Lawrence.
The difference between Wilson is Wilson's obviously scrambling around and getting caught because he's out of the pocket all the time and he's not had the greatest defensive lines. Trevor Lawrence is running at the guys. He's got open field and he's trying to get hit.
If we stay on that, is he how much is he going to change the Jets?
Nothing.
He's not because the games
they don't change it from the top up.
They've absolutely got battered in games. Not like where they've done all right a few points behind. I think there's about 4 or 5 games they've scored 3 points. So which is
actually still, he loves getting hit. The Jets are the perfect place for him. He's going to have no choice to get hit every single play.
He hasn't got anybody to throw the ball to, so he's going to realize that on day one. And
or anybody to hand the ball off to, or anybody to block for him.
He can't exactly do any worse because they're going to go 0-16. So even if he wins just 1 game, that's an improvement for the Jets.
They've got a massive cap space, haven't they? So
yeah,
and then obviously a new. Well, it's
some guys.
I mean, Joe Burrow had one of the greatest college football seasons of all time, and before he got hurt, since he was doing fine, they weren't good.
He was
really well,
but I mean, it's like they're not nearly the dumpster fire that the Jets are. So I mean,
no.
He doesn't have Trevor Lawrence wouldn't have AJ Green as a third option. sitting in New York. So it's,
I think Braxton Berrios would be his first option.
Yeah.
If memory serves, that's how bad it'd be.
Mhm.
It comes to the NFL and play with Braxton Berrios. I mean, it's not what kids dream of. No disrespect to him. But
There's just so
let's
many
say,
holes, though, isn't
if
there?
it was the Falcons
Was
or
Robbie-
Jets,
was-
for example, you
Was
definitely
Robbie
play
Anderson
with
last year?
over.
Yeah, they
Sorry?
were.
This is Robbie Anderson's first season as a Panther.
Yeah, with the Panthers. Yeah.
Yeah, Robbie and Le'Veon were there last year, and that didn't change anything. Like they weren't 0-16, but they weren't good.
I think though
so-
Robbie Anderson was seen as this deep threat speed guy. That's all he could do at the Jets, and that's the only way they really used him. And now he's come to the Panthers, and they've realised that he's got a lot more than that. Yes, he can do that, but he can run short routes, medium routes, whatever you want. And now they're opening him up to this, and obviously the Jets were just like, oh, we had quite a decent guy there. Maybe we shouldn't have just thrown the ball over the top to him every single play and hope for the
Sounds
best.
like the Browns.
Yeah.
I mean, how
I
many
feel so sorry for
players
Quinn
have been
Williams.
poached off Cleveland?
I feel so sorry for Quinn and Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he would have been praying to go to Arizona or San Francisco. I'm pretty sure on draft night he would have been there behind the scenes just praying. And then when he heard Nick Bosa go second overall to San Francisco, he probably would have just been like, "Oh God damn it!"
We've just got so many holes, like so many holes that I don't know how far away they are from being successful in terms of
But
draft.
about another 100 years, maybe.
I
Well,
like
we-
Trevor,
we
though.
play them.
I just
We
want him
play
to
them next year, don't we? So is that a guaranteed win for us, or is that just one of them?
Yeah,
The Falcons.
that's the
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
There's such thing as a guaranteed Falcons win.
That's what I think I said about that with the Chiefs coming up. Obviously, I don't expect we're not going to win at all. Like, I don't expect anything. But I've watched Mahomes in the Super Bowl like a bit last year. But it'd be good to. I'll just probably enjoy the game just to watch. I'll probably hate it because we'll be 45 down or whatever. But it'd be good to just watch Mahomes because obviously I don't watch. I don't
No, we'll
watch.
probably
any of
fucking
the
win.
game.
That's gonna be the aggravating thing. We'll like route them, and then everybody thinks that we're something else. And for some reason, Raheem and Jeff Ulbrich and everybody come back next year because Arthur Blank's full of shit.
Don't
Well,
say
that's probably the worst thing, isn't it? We'll win the next 3 games. Our draft pick goes higher up, and then we employ the same shit, and then
This time-
good end to the season. Let's take it on to next year.
they were
On
always
December.
being cheesed.
A
Don't say
scenario that
I
I'm
would
kind
be
of
laying a
hoping for
smackdown on Mahomes.
is it'll make me laugh. Let's say, I don't know, Matt Ryan has a 4-touchdown performance against the Chiefs. I can't wait to read all the comments. Get rid of Matt Ryan. He did beat the Chiefs. I just can't wait for it. He only threw 4 touchdowns. He should have threw 5. Matt Ryan could save a bunch of kids from an orphanarium and it'd still get criticised.
Oh, I like that.
It's true. But I don't, and yeah, I mean, I think we're all in agreement that Raheem Morris is not the guy at all.
What about Ulbrich? Would everyone keep him?
Under
If,
any
let's say, I don't know,
circumstances.
someone like Eric Bieniemy comes in and says, "I want to keep Ulbrich."
No,
What would everyone say about that?
he's too close to Dan.
I don't want any of them. I just don't
I
want
would-
anybody.
Just get rid of everyone. Just start. It's a brand new start. GM and the head coach is gone. Just get rid of.
That embrace the suck bullshit that Dan Quinn put in after they lost the Super Bowl is still there. That cloud is hanging over it. If you leave guys on the staff, it's gonna stay.
I said that. It's a mentality thing.
I
There's
just-
something in the whole of the club. The mentality of that Super Bowl is still there, and it needs wiping out. And obviously, we can't get rid of all the players at the moment. But the first thing we can do is get rid of all the staff, and then start from there. See how the season goes, then build on from
They're
next year.
still living off, that slogans can win you games of football when slogans can't win you games of football. That was Dan Quinn's approach. We had tons
I'm
of
scared
Make a
we've
new
got-
damn T-shirt every week.
No, I'm scared we're going to go 3-0 in these final 3 weeks. I think you mentioned it, Greg, and we go 7-9 again. And Arthur says, "Come on, Raheem, lead us in 2021."
No.
You guys really had a nice spurt there, you boys. I'm going to ignore the fact that the Saints beat the shit out of you twice. Nah, you're good. Keep being the coach. No, I'm scared to death that that's going to happen, man.
It's the Falcons.
No,
thing
I
to do.
can't
We always
see it.
win when we're out of the playoffs. We always win when we're out of the playoffs.
I don't think. I think we mentioned we might get one against the Bucs, but even I'm at the point where I think we'll go 0-3. I don't think we'll get anything because I think they're better than us without a doubt.
are we at the point in the season where the Chiefs could deploy a few guys that they maybe don't normally deploy?
Not in week 16, or
No.
not in the 16. No.
They're gonna
No,
be.
we're not.
They're gonna still be fighting Pittsburgh for that number 1 seed because it's the
Well,
only one
yeah.
that gets a bye this
Yeah.
year. So they'll
But
just
if-
keep bye.
Now, if Pitt loses the next couple of weeks,
Yeah.
then I could
And
see
if
them
it's-
sitting pat in like week 17. But I don't think week 16 is.
If they can't
If
physically do it
Pittsburgh
by week
lost this
16,
week
then
against Cincinnati, which I highly doubt, maybe they could, but I highly doubt Pittsburgh are going to lose, so it's going to be all to play for KC.
I don't know, man. Pittsburgh's been losing a lot lately. It's been great.
It's
Yeah.
Cincinnati. They've not got the QB.
I think
So I reckon Pittsburgh will beat Cincy.
Yeah, they should.
you do or you don't.
I think they'll still lose. Have they got? Who else have they got?
Cleveland and Indianapolis.
Mm.
They could lose two more games.
They could
I-
lose 2 of those. I mean, like, I think that the cracks are starting to show in Pittsburgh, man. They're not this big, shiny 11-0 team that everyone kept making them out to be.
Mhm.
They haven't played
They've not got
anybody.
a run game. They've not got a run game. That's
No,
the
and
big problem.
also, like, they lost to the Giants. Is that right?
No, they beat.
They lost to
Steelers.
Washington.
They beat the Giants week 1.
Washington, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, like, you know, the Buffalo loss I kind of give them because Buffalo's a legitimate team, but that other loss wasn't good.
I mean, they've got a mean defense, and don't get me wrong, I do like it, but
Bud Dupree's affected him. The loss of Bud Dupree,
Mm.
has really affected him because it took some of the attention away from TJ. Now everyone's zeroing in on TJ because he's not
They
got
lost.
that partner.
Bush has been out as well, hasn't he, this season?
Yeah,
And he's
they replaced him with
he's
Spillane, and
suffering.
he's out, I think.
So they have lost a few guys. I still think they are a very good defense overall. Like, well, Minka Fitzpatrick and players like that. But you know, the teams people talking about them obviously going 16-0 whatever, straight to the Super Bowl, that sort of thing. I think that was a bit far fetched with the Steelers. They were never that good, but obviously, yes, still a very solid team. Could win out, could lose 2. Could go either way for them. You never really know. Obviously, the teams that they're coming up against are very unpredictable in their own right.
What's everyone's opinions for who's the strongest team? Obviously, it's got to be the Chiefs for the AF, but on our side, who you going with the strongest team? Do you at Green Bay or is it the Saints? Which is
I'm actually going for the Rams. I'm going to surprise. I like the way they're playing.
The Rams?
They've got a really good run game. Jared Goff's playing pretty well. The defense with Aaron Donald I think it's top 5 defense they've got. They were first for a while, and then they've got that difference maker in the middle by the name of Aaron Donald, which I'm sure everyone's heard of. I think the Rams. I really think the Rams.
They've still got Jared Goff though.
Yeah,
He's been playing reasonably well lately.
Yeah,
it flip flops every game. I mean, it's because I'm not forgetting because it's like I said, it's every other game, the Miami game, the San Francisco game, and then what was it? It was another one, I believe. He played the Cardinals and then somebody else. But it's like every other game he's decent, then he's like terrible. Like, what are you doing? Decent and terrible. So, like for me, so it's really still their defense that's holding it all together for me over there. They do have obviously opposite pieces, but they're going as far as Goff can take them. And sometimes it's far and sometimes it's just what the hell are you doing? For me, I think AFC wise, I think it's right now it's the Bills. I don't like Greg just said for getting off. Steelers definitely have some holes. They can't run the ball. They literally had 21 rushing yards. Was it? I think it might have been against Washington. Like in playoff football, is like you're not going to be able to win, especially off the strength of Ben Roethlisberger's arm at this point in his career. So it's like you're going to have to get some type of run game going, and you can't rely on the defense always. Like you said, defense has to help the offense, and vice versa. So personally, I think it's the Bills right now. They're the most. This is a team that has the most continuity and can do it on both sides of the ball, and their stock is rising. NFC wise, my fault. What you can say?
I think the Chiefs are beatable, as shown by the Raiders game. Sorry, Delaney. They are definitely beatable.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I'm saying. Like the Bills probably right now have the best shot, even though like they're. I guess it kind of combats my point a little bit. Like they can run the ball a little bit, but it's mainly like I think Josh Allen might be their rushing leader right now, which I guess says a lot about. I don't know if it says a lot about just their offensive scheme or Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. But regardless, they're still able to put up points like that. So I think they're the biggest threat in the AFC at the moment.
So you're saying that the Bills are better than the Chiefs? That's what we're saying.
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm saying like for a threat, like because I was gonna say NFC and AFC, like the teams I feel are a threat from each side. Like say the Chiefs reach the Super Bowl, I think the threat in the NFC right now, and it's hard honestly because I think the AFC has been head and shoulders above the NFC, like all teams this year, which typically we don't see that much of. But I would have to go Green Bay, and I still don't feel fully confident about them. But right now in the NFC, that's the only team that I've seen put together wins, and they're like the most healthy right now. And like I said, Aaron Rodgers has been doing his thing over there. Obviously, Devontae Adams as well. And with them, their defense always lacks a little bit, but they like once the playoffs start to come, they start to improve a little bit more and more. So like NFC wise, I think it's Green Bay at the moment, and AFC, if there was a threat for Kansas City not to make it to the Super Bowl, I think the Bills would be the ones right now.
So a lot of people seem to be slowly ruling out the Seahawks in the NFC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate it just because I like Russell. I had him as my fantasy guy, my fantasy quarterback. He won me a lot of games, but pretty much lost me a lot as well towards the end. But with them, it's I don't think they fully know what they want to do with him on offense. Like the games that we've seen him try to cook, it's like the defenses have had his number and he's made turnovers that we're not used to seeing. And run and like typically they're like, a run, and then they get to the passing game type team. But their running backs are so in and out of the lineup, they have no continuity there to where they're able to like just hand Chris Carson the ball and then like pound away and then let Russ start to cook. It's just, and then their defense hadn't been the greatest all year. I know they started to get back healthy. They got Jamal Adams, Quaydron Diggs, and then they made the trade for Carlos Dunlap and everything. But at a point, they was giving up the most passing yards in football. So like,
I agree.
I'm going to make a bold prediction. All right, sorry to interrupt, Liam. I'm going to make a bold prediction. If the Steelers finish second in the AFC, which I think they will, and it's either Miami or the Raiders or even the Ravens in the seventh seed will knock out Pittsburgh. They are just very one-dimensional. They've got a good defense, but they've lost quite a few bodies this year. And that run game, which they tried to kickstart on Monday at Buffalo, James Conner had 18 yards for 10 carries on 10 carries.
Yes, we haven't got
yards. That's 1.8 yards a carry.
We can't run the ball, and I'm up on you. We can go.
No, I'm gonna say the thing for me with a team like you said, depending on who they face, for me, the Ravens for me, I sort of put in the same bracket as somebody like the Seahawks, where they could easily just bow out at the first time of asking. Or they could just go to town because they both got guys that can do that. Russell Wilson, when he's on it, and if the team's playing well, he could carry him all the way. I know it's a big thing to say, but he could. He's that good. Lamar Jackson, when he's on his game, he's a very good quarterback. He brings a lot. Obviously, he's very, very hard to stop. Yes, everyone was saying, he's been found out now and he can't run the ball anymore, and they're never going to be back to how they were, but they could do that. Things can happen, and if he always has to do is move the chains and he make a couple of big runs a game, like obviously he did last week. And they can do it, but like I said, I think it depends on who the Steelers come up against. I mean, if Steelers come up against somebody like Miami, I'm not convinced Miami are going to go out and beat them. But
Miami's defense
play well because they have. But
that is an amazing defense. I think the Steelers will be praying to avoid Miami. Even though
I think they'd take Miami over Baltimore if they had a choice.
I've been banking on the Raiders all year. I said at the start of the year they were going to make the playoffs. I didn't say they were going to win the Super Bowl, but I thought they were going to make the playoffs. And I think there's still a good chance of it because they've got Miami, they've got Denver, and they've got the Chargers in the remaining games. A lot is going to ride on that Miami game, in my eyes, in terms of who's got to be that 7th seed.
Yeah, it'd be quite an exciting last game of the season, I think. Because there's a few teams on both sides trying to get the last spot. If you go back to the NFC, I think Cardinals have got the last spot at the moment, and I don't think you got the Vikings on 6 or 7 and the Bears. I can't see them two winning enough games. So I think the top 7, apart from obviously Washington, which can change to any of them. I think that would be pretty more. But I think a lot of teams would be wanting. I think a lot of teams would be looking at if they do. I think if you're finishing, what I'm trying to work it out now. Second, seventh. If you finish fifth, you end up playing. You would play in the NFC East basically, and I think a lot of teams would be trying to. Like the last game of the season, teams might be like, "Well, if we actually lose, we might finish fifth instead of third." Don't know if I think teams will be looking into it too much, but
the NFC East is improving a little bit for me. I mean, obviously, yeah, it's still the worst division, but to get the teams in there are getting a little bit better. I mean, Giants got moving a little bit. Washington are getting better. Eagles, obviously they made a change at quarterback. Whether that's going to be now they change for the rest of the season, probably. Potentially could get them going. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is an absolute beast. Is going to change the entire fortunes of the Eagles, but he can spark you to life a little bit. So them teams, they're going to be probably the ones that everybody would want to face. But ultimately, I think certainly Washington and the Eagles are carrying some threat with them now compared to maybe earlier in the season, where
underrate Washington at your peril. Alex Smith, as soon as Alex Smith went in, he rallied that team. That sparked him into life because prior to his introduction, they were awful. They would have been lucky not to finish last in the NFC East, but it's kind of inspired him that someone with 17 surgeries has managed to come back and is actually playing football. It's a miracle he's even running, let alone playing.
Exactly.
So and if he plays, I think they win the NFC East.
Yeah, they were my pick. Even with all the giant craze after the Seahawks win, I was like, if you look at schedules, Washington has the easier schedule. They got the most veteran leadership in places it matters at the moment, and which was quarterback, head coach, and a few other positions. And I feel like their defense obviously has been playing well all year, but they had a more scarier front four, front seven. So I had them slotted to win regardless. I don't know. I know obviously Alex Smith his leg was injured, but I don't think they said it was that serious. So hopefully they're able to either with or without him try to push their way. Exactly. Yeah, so he should be okay, of course, going forward. So depending, I mean, I think they could. But who's in the fifth slot right now? Is it the Bucs or is it Seattle?
Seahawks are fifth.
I think they could. I think Washington can maybe give them a run for their money if they're going to. I mean, they played the Jets, so maybe hopefully that's a pick-me-up game for the rest of these last 3 games, so they're able to look a little bit more like they were in the beginning of the year. But I wouldn't count out Washington maybe beating Seattle in that spot if they were playing like in that little bit of stretch that we saw them not really, or at least Russell not kind of like know really what he wants or what he wants to do, and then. And not to talk too much, but also the thing I'm looking at, which is going to be really, really funny. I know we just talked about the NFC not moving too much, but I was looking at the Cardinals and Vikings schedule, and the Cardinals actually could possibly lose all 3 games. And if the Vikings squeeze out 2 of them, they could enter that 7th slot. So the Cardinals right now, they play the Eagles, 49ers, and Rams to end the season off. They can very well lose those last 2 just because they're division rival games. And the Eagles have, they played well last week. We've seen what Hurts can do. But the Vikings have the Bears, Saints, and Lions. And I can see them squeezing out at least 2 of those games. And if everything holds up the way it does, Vikings slide into that 7th spot. Saints are number 2. We get another hopefully game to where Vikings are upsetting these Saints again, and I will be happy as always. I think that's the way to go out in 2020. Honestly,
I think in regards to the Cardinals, they'll win 2 of those games. I can't see them beating the Rams, but I reckon they'll beat the 49ers because the 49ers they need a QB and they've got a lot of injury concerns. Now they've actually got most of their salary cap on IR at the moment.
Honestly,
Anything to actually hear. So I reckon the Cardinals will win at least 2.
I mean, you've got that.
They should.
Connection. You've got that Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins connection that when it's on point can just go to town and just single-handedly destroy teams because of the ability of both of those players. So I mean, they're another little bit of an enigma in how they're going to perform. Been up and down all season, but they're a decent. The Vikings for me, if the Vikings make the playoffs, that's one of the biggest shocks of the season, just because of how bad they were.
Is it because we battered them, Liam? Is that why you'd be surprised?
Well, yeah,
See
anything
me back
that we makes the playoffs.
Picked a new one.
Yeah, it'd be
They've
crazy.
They've got Dalvin Cook, though, haven't they? And if you've got Dalvin Cook, you've got a chance.
Yeah.
Justin
And
Jefferson too. The guy's the ball.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins has actually not been costing them games, so that's where the shocker comes in for me. So I'm like, it's possible. Like it's still at times they don't look like a playoff team, obviously, but there's been times where they've been able to climb back into games, and it's like, yeah, I can see them. But everybody kept chirping and talking about they was going to make the playoff, even with the 1-5 start after that bye. I guess because they had a decently easy schedule moving forward. So I'm hoping they're able. I personally just hope they make it, just because I want them to upset the Saints again, and that'd just be gold for me. Because they play them the second to last game of the season. If they win that game, they just and like I said, everything holds up. They'll be playing them again first round, and that would just be lovely for me to see them take another loss at the hands of them.
I do think any team that does end up in the playoffs, even like obviously with Washington, even if you only end up with 8 wins for 8 or whatever, I think when you're in the playoffs, it's one of them where I don't think it doesn't happen a lot, even if your record is, or if you are the 6th or 7th seed.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in the playoffs, I think anything can happen. It's it's knockout football, isn't it? Basically, like you got one game, do it, and I think anything can happen. I think Washington would be a team that a lot of people will be rooting for anyway. I think I will be, just for why not? A team that have obviously not done great all season, got Alex Smith there, etc. But it'd be a team that I'll be shouting for if they end up getting in it. Also, any team against the Saints, just got to make that one.
No one's going to FedEx Field in January saying, "Oh, I'm happy we've got Washington," because you know how dangerous they are. They've got a stud at wide receiver in Terry McLaurin. They've got a very good running back in Antonio Gibson, and they've got Alex Smith and a really good defense as well. So
Seahawks actually play them this weekend as well.
Yeah, nobody's going to FedEx Field saying, "Oh, this is going to be a guaranteed W."
Yeah, not anymore.
No.
So if we wrap it up in a minute, well, there's no point speaking about the game this weekend. It is what it is. But we might as well get on to a score prediction each, if anything.
I don't know. Is this one at home? I mean, I guess it don't really matter to me. Like just like the last week with the Chargers, like I kind of just like we were talking earlier. I'm just watching the kind of just to see what everyone's kind of doing and what we may look like next year with certain pieces that we may keep or may not keep. So
yeah, this is
I removed any anger from the box score, but I know that I feel like they're gonna take one from the Bucs. I don't know whether it'd be more than likely it's probably not gonna be one at home because we just can't seem to win in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So I feel like this one's probably like a 31-20, 31-21 type game, maybe. So
yeah. I don't know what to make of the Bucs at all. Like, I just don't know what to think of them. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they put up 50 against us and absolutely destroyed us. But it also wouldn't surprise me if we beat them quite comfortably at the same time. Like, I just feel like they are very unpredictable. Yes, they've got a ton of weapons. I mean, you could say they're the most stacked team in the NFL in terms of the overall position by position. Potentially, they're certainly up there. But they're a hit and miss. I'm going to say they probably will beat us. I think they're going to put up. I think they might put up 40 plus against us, to be honest. Jeez. But I also think we'll do. I also think we'll pass the 20 mark. I'm confident of that. I think we'll run them to that level. Whether we'll get any closer, I'm not so sure.
All right. I've got to say, I love angry Matt Ryan performances. He played very bad against Philly in 2018, week 1. Next week, he had 2 rushing touchdowns and about 3 passing touchdowns, I think, against Carolina. So I always love an angry Matt Ryan performance. So I'm going to go for prediction-wise 30-28 to the Bucs.
Is that going to be one of them bloody heartbreak games that we used to by now? Or are they like 30 points ahead and then we catch up?
Nip and tuck halfway all the way through, I think, because the Bucs aren't great. They lost to the Bears somehow. Well, again, we lost to the Bears, so I can't really criticize them. They only won by 7 against the Chargers. They shipped 31 to them, and this is supposed to be a great defense. And they just scraped past New York, the Giants at MetLife. Monday Night Football, 25-23.
Didn't they absolutely
Yeah.
tonk Green Bay?
Yeah. But then they also got battered by the Saints, 38-3. So I think the Bucs will scrape a win, but our offense will look better because we've got angry Matt Ryan. But he'll still get criticised after the game.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
I'll probably go for. They'll reach 38 points, and we'll 20, 21 maybe around that. I think I still feel like we'll win one game, and it'd probably be the last game where they're already in the playoffs anyway. Obviously, it's a meaningless game for us, and we'll fuck our draft position up by a couple.
As always.
But I think we beat them last year, didn't we? Last game of the season.
Yeah, we did.
Pick 6,
And
right?
then
Yeah.
messed up. Yeah.
The Niners in their own backyard.
Yeah.
Oh, that was one of the most exciting games I've seen last year.
Yeah.
Well,
It was cool to see us again messed up.
But,
I mean, the fact that we're actually talking about the Bucs beating us is just bad enough for me. And obviously, this is very different Bucs than we've been used to in previous years. But just the fact that I have to say that the Bucs are the favourite against us just really annoys me in general.
I hope they absolutely get stuffed in the playoffs. Absolutely stuffed. And I think the most likely be playing the Rams, so I'll be all up for that one.
If we go down to Kansas City next week and then do what we did in San Francisco last year, I'm not sure whether to laugh or cry. I really don't know. It's just one of those because you'd be happy winning against the probable Super Bowl winners, but fuck up the draft position again.
Obviously, I'm going into every game. Obviously, I want to win. Yeah, I want to win every game, but it's one of them where if we lose it, then it is what it is. We've lost it. I'll be.
Yeah.
I think it's the manner of the losses. Like the Green Bay game this year, I was like, that they're a better team than us. It is what it is, and they dominated. But it's the manner of the losses, the manner of the Chargers game. It's just like, just stop and just stop.
Yeah,
but
for me, it's not the draft position I'm so worried about. It's the coaching situation. Just, don't win enough games to keep Raheem. If it's possible that we keep Raheem, if there is a limit, whether it's 2, 3 wins, whatever, don't do that. If we have to lose out to get rid of Raheem, then we have to lose out. Not even the draft position that I'm worried about. It's that.
If we win out, they're gonna keep Dirk Cutter, and that's what I feel.
No, you can't.
I feel like there's no way
Counting him.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
saying Raheem's got a chance. I'm saying Dirk's got nothing.
No, if we win out and our offense looks good, they'll keep all 3 of them. And I will try.
You're also talking about things that are impossible there with our defense looking good with Dirk Cotter.
Good point.
Accurate. I'll wrap it up now. So thanks for coming on, everyone. Nice hour and a half show for a week show. On to Sunday, and we'll see what happens. We'll be back next week. Thanks for coming on, guys. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Of course. Appreciate you as always.
Cheers.
Bye.